Nam Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bhishtaye Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasisha Sudhari Sattara Sattara Ho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so briefly, as far as I can remember, we're hearing the continued glories of Goloka Vrindavan, conversation between Uddhava, Narada Muni, and Gopakumar. Okay, they're having a conversation. And they're explaining, or Uddhava is explaining, he's been, Narada Muni has ushered Gopakumar, or has encouraged Uddhava to speak, because he has, could say, more experience of Raj than what Narada Muni has. As we know, he was commissioned to go and visit Vrindavan. So he's now speaking about Goloka Vrindavan to Gopakumar. And Gopakumar is becoming more and more, obviously, more and more attracted. Okay, so let's share this here. There you go. Hope you can see. You can see it there. Text 192, we're beginning from today.
Yeah.
Okay, Mama Sachari, you have your hand up. You can take us into the Brihat Bhagavatamrta. Hare Krishna.
Text 192. I'm just an insignificant creature. What rights do I have to even try to describe the glories of the gopis? Even so, my ill-mannered tongue cannot stay still. Text 193. O son of cowherd, dear friend of the Lord of Raj, among Krishna's devotees in pure love, this Uddhava is the most exalted. By his good fortune, he has attained the essence of Lord's mercy. In Raj, he has seen the extent of the gopis' love for Krishna. 194. Uddhava received from the gopis such mercy that in their company he even forgot about his companionship with Krishna. So whatever he concludes about them and whatever he does or says will be altogether right. Commentary. Uddhava, being the best Prema Bhakta of Lord Vrajanath, is blessed with Krishna's exceptional mercy. Krishna has drawn Uddhava very close to him because the Lord considers Uddhava especially worthy of his kindness. Uddhava attained this perfection by seeing in Vrindavan the exalted love the gopis have for Krishna and by obtaining the gopis' blessings. The gopis disclosed to Uddhava their most confidential ecstasies in Uddhava's own words. O most glorious gopis, you have rightfully claimed the privilege of unalloyed love for the transcendental Lord. Indeed, by exhibiting your ecstasy of separation from him, you have shown me great mercy. Bhagavatam 10:47-27. Srila Sridhara Swami, in his commentary on this verse, gives his paraphrase, Bhagavat Prema Sukha Pradarshena Mamaiva Mahan Anugraha Krita. By showing the joy of your love for the Supreme Lord, you have greatly favored me. Being in the company of the gopis and staying in Gokula for a long time strongly affected Uddhava, so much so that he forgot his association with Krishna, with whom he had been friends since childhood.
Okay.
Next.
Okay. Oh yeah, I've got to move the thing. I was just, yeah, Uddhava plays a very special role. You know, actually, just remember that Uddhava, when Krishna, when Krishna returned after performing his pastimes here, it was Uddhava who was left with the task of preaching his message. Yeah, so everyone went back to Godhead except Uddhava. See, so very confidential servant of the Lord and very dear to him. And he's met the gopis. Okay, carry on. 195.
Text 195. Akrura, son of Swahapalka, and paternal uncle of Lord Krishna, was an old man whose heart has dried up from a lifeless knowledge. His heart was so devoid of the softness of mercy that he came to Vraj as the diligent order carrier of Kamsa. Commentary. Akrura's name means not cruel, but by taking Krishna away from Vrindavan, he committed cruel offenses against the Vrajvasis. He may have been Krishna's uncle, but according to Uddhava, his heart was completely dried up by knowledge, untouched by the rasas of devotional service. Being an old man, Akrura couldn't even make an outward show of being a connoisseur of rasas, and therefore,
Connoisseur.
connoisseur,
Yeah.
sorry, of rasas, and therefore, because he had no appreciation for the ecstatic mood of Raj Prema, he accepted the task of dragging Krishna away from Raj. Text
Okay.
196.
Yeah, well, so here we have one Vaishnava who's speaking badly about another Vaishnava. But this is out of love. This is cannot be imitated. So Akrura, to a big degree, he is a devotee of the Lord. As you know, he's given as an example of what is it, offering Akrura when he entered Vrindavan. Then he saw the lotus footprints of Krishna and Balaram, and he went into great ecstasy. So he is a great devotee. But here, Uddhava was saying his heart is dried up from lifeless knowledge, gyan. Yeah. So it seems like he's sharing the protest of the gopis for taking Krishna away. Yeah, so he's calling Akrura a Gyani. His heart's dried up. Yeah. He has no idea. Only the purport Sanatana Goswami is elaborating more. He has no idea about rasa. Yeah. He has no idea about Raj Prema. Yeah. Any comments on that? Or if not, we continue reading.
Yeah. Text 196.
Six.
Yet, while meditating on the two lotus feet of Krishna, he began to speak of Krishna's supremacy. And with his heart tossing and turning from describing the super excellent glories of the gopis, he was blind to his own audacity.
Okay.
Text 197.
He was in great ecstasy. He was in so much ecstasy that he didn't realize what he was actually doing. Taking Krishna away from Vrindavan. That's his audacity. So, yeah, go. Continue.
Yeah. Text 197. Akrura thought, those lotus feet are worshipped by Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods, by the goddess of fortune, and also by the great sages and Vaishnavas. Upon those,
Sorry. Large commentary coming up. Go on.
upon those lotus feet, the Lord walks about the forest while herding the cows with his companions, and those feet are smeared with the kunkuma from the gopis' breast. Commentary. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:38-8 expresses one of the thoughts Akrura had while on the road to Vrindavan. The persons of whom Akrura speaks, he mentions one after another in order of their increasing greatness. Were he not to mention them in this way, his praise would be ridiculous as praise given to the same person, first for being a great Brahmana and then a great king. Competent poets disapprove of such awkward sequences. Such poets generally glorify related subjects in order, from the least insignificant to the most. That Brahma and other demigods worship Krishna's lotus feet indicates that those feet are the supreme worshipable deity and that Krishna is the supreme controller. The goddess Lakshmi, who bestows all riches simply by her sidelong glances, also worships Krishna's feet, which indicates that Krishna's feet possess the extreme limit of good fortune. Mystics who are self-satisfied, Atma-rama, are indifferent to the favor of goddess of fortune. Yet they also worship Krishna's lotus feet. This means that to obtain Krishna's feet is the highest goal of life. And apart from great mystics also worshipping Krishna's feet, or the devotees interested only in pure devotional service to the Supreme Person, Such devotees are much greater than the Atmarama mystics because pure devotees do not care even for liberation. This also implies that Krishna is the most generous giver of charity because to such pure devotees, he gives away even his very self. Sages busy in the cultivation of karma and gnana have no time to worship the personality of Godhead's lotus feet. They lack the special knowledge that would inspire them to begin such worship, and they also lack the spiritual strength needed for devotional service. But Karmi and Gnani sage who associate with pure Vaishnavas can receive the Vaishnava's mercy and thus acquire the requisite knowledge and strength. In other words, the devotees of the Supreme Lord are superior to non-devotee sages. By referring to the goddess of Sri as Devi, demigoddess, rather than Bhagavati, beloved of Bhagavan, Akrura indicates that he is talking not about Lord Narayan's wife Mahalakshmi, but about the partial expansion of Mahalakshmi, who rules the opulence of the material world. Vaishnavas worship the original Mahalakshmi as the dearmost consort of the Supreme Lord, which means that the Vaishnava accept her as greater than themselves. Akrura contemplates Krishna going to the forest with his companions, the young cowherd boys, and in this way thinks of Krishna's absolute affection and compassion for his devotees. The forest in Vrindavan, the place of Krishna's greatest pleasure pastimes, and the purpose of his entering that forest is to tend his cows, a pastime of supreme happiness. It is not precisely right to think that the words Architam and Anucharai together means worship by his companions. There may be some grammatical justification for such an understanding, but because the cowherd boys are Krishna's intimate friends, their worship of his lotus feet differs from the worship usually indicated by the word Architam. Akrura says that Krishna's lotus feet are smeared with kunkuma from the breasts of the gopis. This not only points towards an uncommon mode of worship, the Supreme Lord, but also indicates how Krishna sports romantically and bestows the highest form of his mercy by coming under the control of pure love. The gopis are mentioned last in this comparative sequence because they are the greatest of all Krishna's worshippers, and the word Yad is repeated a second time in the last line to highlight the special nature of their worship. The sweetness invoked by the image of Krishna's feet smeared with gopis, kunkuma, suggests that his loving exchange with the gopis are the most important purpose for which he descended as an avatar. His favoring the gopis by submitting to their love is the most glorious thing he ever does. In this way, Akrura compares various worshippers of Krishna's lotus feet in exactly the fitting order. Lord Brahma is greater than the demigods, Lord Shiva greater than Brahma, the goddess Sri greater than Shiva, the self-content sages greater than Sri, the pure Vaishnavas greater than the sages, and Krishna's cowherd friends, and finally, the gopis greater than all others. Thus, Akrura became ecstatic as he approached the Vrindavan, thinking, "Then I will at once alight from my chariot and bow down to the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, the supreme personalities of Godhead. There are the same feet that great mystic yogis, striving for self-realization, bear within their minds. I will also offer my obeisance to the Lord's cowherd friends and to all the other residents of Vrindavan." Bhagavatam 10:38-15.
Okay, so it seems like Akrura, at least from this explanation here, he does have an understanding of, you could say, rasa, of the exchanges of love in Vrindavan. I just want to just go back to the verse because the lotus feet of worship, by Brahma, Shiva, and all the demigods, by the goddess of fortune, by great sages and Vaishnavas. Talks about the herd who became, and those feet are smeared with kumkum from the gopis' breasts. Yes, so he's referring to, he does have knowledge of or appreciation of the loving exchanges in Vrindavan. And of course the gopis are, because the gopis are the greatest devotees, as we know, we've heard many, many times. It's just the nature of the the loving exchange is so sweet in one sense. It's so, even from a material, if we can try to appreciate this, but it's, we have to be careful how we go about it. But even relationships in the material world, the most intimate that's exchanged is between lover and beloved. Even more so than, say, the mother and her children, between friends, between sons and daughters, and between their parents. We can, isn't it? We can see, we have to admit that the most intimate of exchanges in this material, which is a reflection of the relationships in the spiritual world, which are there, they're pure. But here, the relationship between lover and beloved is often of a selfish nature. It's often of a selfish nature. And when that nature, when that satisfaction is not there, then there's a breaking of the relationship. So that's a, but the point I'm trying to bring across here is that that's why we can see that the gopis are glorified, because they exhibit the most intimate exchanges with Krishna, as we can see as a reflection here in the material world. So any questions on that, or any comments? It's a delicate subject, and it's the most confidential subject, and it takes some purification to really appreciate the purity, actually, of the love between Krishna and the gopis. It is completely selfless. It is not in any way material lust, although the word calm is often given. Yeah. So there, yeah. So here, everyone's meditating upon his feet, but for the gopis, Krishna is placing his feet. He has this is when he came back after the Ras Leela, after he disappeared from Ras Leela, there was massaging his feet. You know? Anyway, Hare Krishna. So Kura has some appreciation of this to some degree, but from Uddhava's point of view, he's a dried up Gyani. He's a dried up Gyani. Why? Because he took Krishna away. If he had any knowledge, he would have refused to take Krishna away from the residents of Vrindavan. But it seems like, from Uddhava's point of view, he was just intoxicated and didn't know what he was doing. All right, okay. Anyone else would like to read? Any reading volunteers out there?
I can read, but is it
Go ahead.
volume? Is it okay?
No, it's fine at the moment. It's fine. I think once you actually unmute and you start speaking, then there isn't any problems. I don't know.
Okay, let's keep it like that's why I wasn't speaking 2 days, but then I get bored not speaking. You know what? I talk too much.
Please. So let's keep track of this. So Uddhava's feeling he's having a little go at Akura here. But
Yeah,
as Akura's a great devotee.
yeah, I was thinking of realizing who is higher. Like
Yeah.
Gopkumar is going to, he's got love for Krishna. It's
Yeah.
like that, you know. Okay, 198. And when I have fallen at his feet, the Almighty Lord will place his lotus hand upon my head. For those who seek shelter in him, because they are greatly disturbed by the swift, powerful serpent of time, that hand removes all fear. Now that's what I want. But
Fear. Good.
no, I want that hand on my head.
Yeah.
Commentary. Akura also speaks this verse and the next in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10:38, 16 to 17. The words Kala
Bhujanga.
Bhujanga suggests that persons who are serious about achieving liberation fear the force of time. In another sense, however, the word Kala Bhujanga refers to liberation itself, comparing it to an over-devouring python, or still another meaning of Bhujanga is profligate man. Now what's that?
Let's go to look up now. Recklessly extravagant or wasteful in the use of resources. Okay.
A profligate man may boldly enter another person's house and refuse to leave, even if the owner tries to expel him. Similarly, even though by the strength of Vaishnav association, a liberated soul may come to understanding the paltriness of liberation and try to reject it, liberation may still persist in its hold on him.
Okay, so the devotees, they don't seek liberation, but liberation and liberation seeks the devotees out. Described here, a profligate liberation is there automatically for the Vaishnava. Where some persons, their whole sadhana or their sadhya, the perfection of their sadhana is moksha or liberation. But devotees don't concern themselves with that. They concern themselves with serving Krishna's lotus feet. And therefore, liberation comes after their beckon and call. Comes to serve them. So nicely explained here. Yeah. Liberation may still persist its hold on him. So it's a side benefit of devotion to Krishna. Yeah. Yeah, go on.
Okay, text 199. By offering charity to that lotus hand, Purandara and Bali earned the status of Indra, king of heaven, and during the pleasure pastimes of the Rastans, when the Lord wiped away the gopis' perspiration and removed their fatigue, the touch of their faces made that hand as fragrant as a sweet flower. Commentary. Having described how Krishna removes all fear from persons who take shelter of him, Akrura now describes how Krishna awards his devotees success in life, whether or not they still have material desires, and how he gives himself away to his most surrendered devotees. Both Indra, while performing sacrifice, and Bali, while fulfilling Lord Vamandev's request for charity, sanctified their acts by placing items of worship in the Supreme Lord's hand. That was the right way for them to proceed, because no one can have a fruitful ritualistic performance without making some offering to the Supreme Lord. Here the word Kaushika refers to Indra Purandara, who is called Kaushika because he is the descendant of Kaushika Rishi. But Kaushika is also another name of sage Vishwamitra. During the pastime of Lord Ramachandra, Vishwamitra made various offerings to the Lord, such as teaching in Shastras and Mantras, and various items of hospitality in his ashram, including sanctified food. It is well known how Vishwamitra thus becomes great in several ways, especially by attaining intense devotion to the Lord's lotus feet. Thus, Vishwamitra became a prominence among the sages, as Indra among the demigods. Krishna blessed the gopis with the highest joy and became subservient to the dictates of their love because they considered him their very life and soul. The word vihar, sport, indicates that Krishna's pastime with the gopis were very enjoyable. The word Vraja Yositam of the women of Raj suggests that it was fitting for Krishna to grant them his favor because these women of Raj, the gopis, were so affectionate to him. The word Shraman, fatigue, implies that Krishna reciprocated with the gopis very skillfully, giving them the greatest pleasure, which compensates
Compensated. Yeah.
for the effort the gopis spent in singing and dancing, that he removed their fatigue by his touch. Sparshana implies the coolness of his touch, and that his hand is so gandhi, fragrant like a flower, implies that his hand is supremely attractive and has the power to create happiness, in the same way that the subtle fragrance of a flower may be perceived only by certain people. Krishna's beauty and charm are fully relished only by devotees as dear to him as the Vraj gopis.
Yes. So even Krishna's darshan, it has this tremendous effect on the devotees. Even darshan of Vishnu, which is described often in the Srimad Bhagavatam, then just we read many accounts of the overwhelming effect upon the devotees when Krishna appears before them. But this is something extraordinary. Yeah. So it's often, said that there's great devotees who have darshan of Krishna. And the gopas, they have darshan. But here, Krishna's dancing with these devotees, the gopis. He's not just giving a, what's it called, a spuruti, a momentary darshan. He's actually engaged in ras lila, yeah. And because they have interest, they have transcendental, they're all transcendental, but they become tired from their dancing. Yeah? So Krishna just seemingly puts his hand over their head, or he touches them, and they become completely overwhelmed even more by Krishna's beauty and charm. So as Mother Chandra is hankering for that. Yeah, we all are. Krishna's touch upon her head.
Yeah.
You'd be so blessed. Yeah. So remember this word? Sugandhika Gandhi. Fragrant like a flower. His sparshena is sugandhi. So his touch, sparshena, is sugandhika Gandhi. Fragrant like a flower. That's his touch. Sugandha Gandhi. It's a nice name, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sugandhika Gandhi. The Lord to your name after the touch of the refreshing, attractive touch of Krishna's hand. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Name, Okay. Text 200. Narad continued. The grandfather of the Kurus and Pandavas, Bhishma himself, sworn to the great vow of lifelong celibacy and strictly true to the principles of religion, at the time of passing away, praised the personality of Godhead by telling of the excellence of the young women of Vraj. Commentary. As wonderful as it is that Akura appreciated the gopis, it is even more amazing that Bhishma, a warrior and a lifelong celebrate, who should know nothing about such things, also glorified these young girls. As Bhishma lay on the bed of arrows on the Kurukshetra battlefield, just before he left his body, he sang the glories of Krishna's girlfriends in Vrindavan. This was the same Bhishma who was a strict Naistika brahmachari, a Kshatriya more interested in warfare than romantic concerns. The same Bhishma who dueled with his own guru, Parshuram, the Supreme Lord's incarnation, and shot cruel arrows at Krishna, Arjun's chariot driver. Such a great authority is Bhishma that if he considers the gopis so elevated, surely there must be.
Yeah, that's an interesting verse. It comes up in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam. as I think it's in the first canto, isn't it? Lord Bhishma's passing, and he mentions this in his prayers to Krishna. He mentions the gopis. Yeah, so it seems like they, to some devotees, their love or the gopis were known. Yeah. Okay, or their loving devotion or their loving attachment to Krishna was known by Bhishma. Now his relationship, what's his relationship with Krishna? Bhishma, he has what's it called again? He has a chivalrous relationship. So yeah. Okay, go on. Hare Krishna.
I was thinking here that that phrase that I'm not a brahmachari, kshatriya, vaishya, whatever, and I was thinking that everybody has that love for Krishna and that for the gopis and that. It just shows on here. I was thinking of that.
Yeah, you lost me a bit there. Yeah, we have this verse, this Buddha study verse.
Yeah, I was thinking that, how like the verse that I am not a brahmachari.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah, but every one of us have that higher taste, love for Krishna, Rajbasis, And I thought that showed when Bhishma revealed that the gopis were so elevated, Though he was nice to keep brahmachari, and all his life he was like a warrior.
Yeah. So also it's given an example of the purity and what the love between the gopis and Krishna is not. And it's given an example because of Lord Chaitanya as a great sannyasi who was very, very, very strict in his dealings with women. Very strict as a sannyasi. But he was absorbed and he would praise and speak about the gopis. So obviously it's not tinged by anything mundane. It is transcendental affection and love. And it isn't, Bhishma's not he's in his own specific relationship. So he's not aspiring to become gopi. He's in a different rasa. Preliminary, I think, is in relationship with Krishna as a Vishnu, as the charioteer and the great warrior. That's his relationship with Krishna. But still, he has appreciation, and he mentions it when he's leaving this world. Okay, such a great authority is Bhishma, that if he considers the gopis so elevated, surely they must be. All right, can we 201?
Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motion, gestures, sweet smiles, and loving glances made the gopis of Brihat feel greatly honored. Those gopis in blind ecstasy imitated the activities of Krishna and became just like him.
All right, so this is Bhishma. Again, he's saying this. So he's got knowledge of even the pastime. This is particular pastimes here when the gopis are imitating Krishna. And for them, it's like they become Krishna. They're so absorbed in him when he goes away from the Ras Leela. So he's aware of these details. Go on, you continue reading the commentary.
This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1940 is among those that impart Bhishma's final words. The Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna, favored the gopis with the highest honor by worshipping them with his own graceful moments and gestures during his Ras Leela and other pastimes. Therefore, the gopis should be understood to be the greatest devotees of the Supreme Lord, greater than all the recipients of the Lord's gifts of sense enjoyment, power, liberation, and devotion, and greater even than Mahalakshmi. When Krishna left the gopis at the beginning of Ras dance, in that ecstatic madness, they became as if blind. In other words, they lost their ability to see the means and ends of happiness in this world and the next. In that state, they acted out his pastimes, like lifting of Govardhan Hill, and became just like him. That is to say, they entered the special kind of trance in which their bodies assume many of his excellent qualities. Pakritim Agan. The gopis fixed the Satchitanand spiritual nature, then appeared worthy of worship by the entire world, able to deliver the universe and full of compassion for everyone. Or, taking the meaning of the word prakriti to be mind and again to be entered, when Krishna was away from the Rastas, the gopis deeply entered his mind, and because of their extreme devotion, while feeling his absence, they became the object of his deep meditation. Therefore, the gopis are glorified in this way. Even great yogis are not able to pursue your method of worshipping the Supreme Lord with the feeling of his absence. He is the proper object of meditation, but you have become the object of his. This is the perfection nearly impossible to attain. Padyavali of Srila Rupa Goswami, 351.
But yeah, the Padyavali, for your information, it's a collection of verses. It's a collection of songs and writings by Rupa Goswami, but he is not the author. He's just collected from the Vedas what he considers to be very wonderful and his favorite verses, as far as if I can remember. It's called the Padyavali. So just for your interest. It's very beautiful. There's some very beautiful verses there about Radha and Krishna. So, Hare Krishna.
Though Krishna is the supreme goal, rarely achieved of powerful lords of the universe like Brahma and other demigods, of self-satisfied yogis like Sanaka and his brothers, of pure devotees like Narad, and of beloved consort like the goddess Lakshmi. Krishna truly worships the gopis, endeavoring to attract them with his unprecedented and splendid pastimes. When the gopis are maddened in the height of their love, in separation, they cannot discern right from wrong. And so they imitate Krishna's activities and invade Krishna's own mind. Thus they are surely the greatest of all Vaishnavas. And to be the only object of desire for these greatest of Vaishnavas, Krishna must be the supreme person. Thinking like this, Bhishma, filled with ecstasy at the time of his passing away, prayed that Sri Gopinath be present before his eyes as he left his body. Text 202.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, it hasn't been, I could say, she hasn't been mentioned yet, but we know Radharani. I'm sure she's going to be mentioned at some point, because this is the gopis. But of all the gopis, there is one who excels, and that's Sri Radha. So probably she will be mentioned. Let's see. But sometimes she's not mentioned because it's so she is so glorious, or she is kind of often hidden. Let's see. Hare Krishna. She's hidden in the Bhagavatam, although to great souls she is present in every verse. But there's only a couple of places where she is directly mentioned by the use of the word Araradhana. And it's when the gopis, when Krishna left, Radharani left, he left with Radharani, and there must be one gopi among them, because I saw two footprints, who has achieved the greatest mercy, and that's Radharani. But otherwise, she's not mentioned there directly. That's the whole discussion. But Hare Krishna. Okay, we can continue reading 202. If anyone else would like to read, you're welcome to put your hand up.
Yes, please, yeah. Okay. True, oh true, the ladies of the capital of King Yudhishthir spoke the same way among themselves while watching that very personality of Godhead leave for his own capital. Commentary. Since the greatly learned Bhishma knew about the glories of the personality of Godhead, it is understandable that he should have spoken such praise of the gopis. More surprising, however, is that women without such specialized knowledge could glorify the gopis in the same way as did the women of Hastinapur, as described in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1:10-20. Absorbed in the thought of transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is glorified in select poetry, the ladies on the roofs of the old houses of Hastinapur began to talk of him. This talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. Srila Sridhar Swami explains the prayers of the ladies in Hastinapur attracted the attention of all the Vedas, and thus the personified Upanishads congratulated those ladies. Because the ladies belonged to the capital of Sri Yudhishthir, the Kauravas king, it is implied that by their connection with him, they certainly could have spoken such realizations. What is more, the women of Hastinapur expressed those realizations at the moment of painful crisis for them, when Krishna was leaving the Kaurava capital of his own city, Dwarka. Krishna's influence is so wonderful that even while Krishna was abandoning them, they could glorify their rivals in Dwarka and Vrindavan. Text 2 of
So here's these verses now by the queens of Hastinapura, by the ladies, excuse me, of Hastinapura.
Okay. Text 2 or 3. Oh friends, just think of his wives whose hands he has accepted. How they must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe, to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing. The damsels of Rajbhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. Commentary. This verse appears in the song by the Hastinapur ladies in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1:10-28. In the opinion of these ladies, Sri Krishna's queens in Dwarka must in previous lives have disciplined themselves and worshipped him in many ways to have gained him as their husband. For those queens can regularly taste the nectar of Krishna's lips. But the gopis of Vrindavan are even greater because they always think about that nectar within their heart. The nectar of Krishna's lips must be exceedingly pleasant, since the gopis, those most respectable girls, are enchanted by it. Thus it is proven once again that Krishna is the Supreme Person, and that because of the extreme love the divine gopis of Raj have for him, they are superior even to Sri Rukmini and Krishna's other wives. Surely the gopis also had the privilege of drinking the Adar Amrita, the nectar from Krishna's lips, but beyond even that, they would become bewildered just by remembering it. Although one can also achieve Sri Goloka by developing love in the mood of Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and the other Vrajbasis. It is mainly by developing love that follows the mood of the gopis that one can attain the special perfection in which all one's ambitions are fulfilled. Sri Uddhava speaks another verse glorifying the gopis in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 3:2-14. The damsel of Raj, after pastime of laughter, humor, and exchanges of glances, were anguished when Krishna left them. They used to follow him with their eyes, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and couldn't finish their household duties. Narad, however, chose to forego reciting these words because he wished to avoid making the pure devotees who were present remember the pain the gopis felt after Krishna left Vrindavan.
Okay, so we're hearing about the love of the gopis, so how to imagine what they felt when he left, taken away by Akura. But I can have a little read if it's okay. Yeah. So 204. Is that right? 204, yeah?
Yeah.
Sri Gopakama said, after speaking thus, the great sage Narad embraced me. Immersed in waves of an ocean of love of Godhead, he trembled and wept, and his hair stood on end. He bit his tongue, a tongue uncontrollably eager to keep speaking, and he danced wonderfully and showed many symptoms of ecstasy. Okay, so Asta Sattvika Bhava. There's a great pure soul. These symptoms are manifesting. Commentary. Narada wanted to hold back from elaborating any further on the many faceted glories of the gopis because he was afraid of losing control of himself in ecstasy. Yeah, that's another point on why the gopis weren't named, or Radharani wasn't mentioned by Sukadeva Goswami, isn't it? That we devotees know it's commonly brought up. Because he only had 7 days to recite Bhagavatam. So if he got into the details of Radha's love for Krishna, etc., and he would have got washed away in an ocean of ecstasy. And he might have just fainted away. Yeah. As it was, he was already beginning to lose control. In fact, right in front of Gopakama and Uddhava, he rolled on the ground, jumped about, and shouted and cried like a madman. Yeah. Verse in the Bhagavatam that describes that. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one dances and shouts like a madman, indifferent to public opinion. Yeah. Text 205. A moment later, he came back to more or less normal. Seeing me feeling discouraged, that best of sages spoke again, consoling me with sweet words. Commentary. Seeing Narada go mad in ecstasy made Gopakama's worry that his own goal might be difficult to achieve. So he's aspiring for what Narada doesn't have. Yeah. Sri Narada said, "This subject should always be kept private, to be spoken only among saintly devotees, and it should especially be avoided in places where the Lord's supreme opulence is displayed, like in Vaikuntha." Yeah. Thus Narada asked Gopakama never to repeat in an unsuitable place what Narada had just told him about the various topics, beginning with the position of Goloka and ending with the glories of the gopis. That is why I didn't reveal these things to you in Vaikuntha, only here. So here is, where's here? Is that Dwarka? Yeah, it's Dwarka. That is why I didn't reveal these things to you in Vaikuntha, only here, moved by the charm of your ecstatic love for the Lord, have I spoken of them a little. Commentary. Not in Vaikuntha, but only here in Dwarka, in Uddhava's house, has it been appropriate to tell Gopakama something about Goloka and its devotees. 208. On my behalf and that of Uddhava, I testify to you that from here, that abode of the Lord is in fact most difficult to achieve, and so too is the discipline that leads to it. Commentary. By using the words hayatra, indeed here, Narada hints at the confidential truth that one can achieve this most difficult goal by residing in Mathura Vrajbhumi on earth. Okay. 209. So he's in Dwarka now, so it looks like he's going to be coming back down to earth. Please hear from me this one piece of advice. Not far from here lies the Lord's holy abode, known as Purusottama-ksetra, which he visited before on earth. Okay. The transcendental abode of Lord Jagannath on earth is also present in Vaikuntha. Okay, so there you go. Also in Vaikuntha. There, in the company of Subhadra and Balaram, Lord Purushottam enjoys the same sports he enacted at Govardhan and in Vrindavan forest and on the shores of the Jamuna. Commentary. Lord Jagannath is Krishna himself. By visiting Purusottama-ksetra in Vaikuntha, Gopakumar will be able to see the object of his worship, Lord Krishna, enjoying his favorite pastimes. Okay. Text 2:11. His transcendental form, the one source of all incarnations, expands all of his various pastimes. Whichever of his forms a devotee finds attractive, that form the Lord shows him. That has been discussed before here as well in Brihat Bhagavatamrta. Yeah. So commentary. Within Lord Jagannath, Gopakumar will be able to see all the different forms of the Supreme Lord. For Lord Jagannath shows himself as one incarnation of Vishnu or another at suitable times and places. By displaying that incarnation's pastimes, Gopakumar may doubt whether all his desires can be fulfilled by Lord Jagannath, whose form differs from that of Madan Gopal. After all, Gopakumar's heart belongs only to Madan Gopal, who alone can attract him. To remove this doubt, Narada speaks the second half of this verse. Lord Jagannath will surely respond to Gopakumar's particular mood of devotion by appearing as his worshipful Lord Gopal. Yes, Lord Chaitanya, when he would take darshan of Jagannath, he would see Krishna with a flute, playing the flute. Yeah, in his mood of Radha, he would see Krishna. Yeah. And yeah. Okay, 2:12. Eternally as dear to Sri Krsnadeva as his beautiful Mathura-dhama is that Purusottama-ksetra. There the Lord displays his supreme opulence and yet charms his devotees by acting like an ordinary person of the world. Commentary. Gopakumar may still insist that Krishna reveals himself in full sweetness only in his favorite abode, Braj-bhumi. And Gopakumar may therefore not want to go anywhere else. But here, Narada explains that in Purusottama-ksetra, non different from Braj, Krishna also manifests all the powers of Godhead and all his sweetness. Lord Jagannath, being the complete omnipotent personality of Godhead, is confirmed in Sri Shiva Purana. Okay, so this is something I haven't known or understood before. Generally, we've understood that Krishna reveals his full sweetness in Vraj-bhumi, but here it's describing he exhibits that full sweetness of all rasa in the form of Jagannath. So you can think of that next time you come and take darshan of Lord Jagannath. Okay. Here's a verse from the Shiva Purana. The unlimited, imperishable Vishnu, the primeval supreme person, abides there in Puri. That Lord, who is very kind to his devotees, bestows liberation in 7 ways. His devotees in Puri are liberated by remembering him, by eating remnants of his food, by making a pilgrimage, by repeatedly chanting his names, by living in that abode, by giving up their life heirs, or by seeing him, or even dying there. Sri Skanda Purana confirms. The same being who created this universe with all its moving and non-moving creatures is present in Sri Kshetra in the form of wood, like the living soul of that abode, Dharo Brahman. Okay? Therefore, since Krishna enjoys with the same freedom in Puri as in Rajbhumi, Gopakumar should be able to achieve in Puri everything he desires. Now, he's already been to Puri, isn't it? Do you remember we read about he went to Puri and he became king of Puri, wasn't it? He somehow became he went there and the king very much took affection to him for his ecstatic mood, and eventually the king passed away and he handed over the kingship to Gopakumar.
That
But
was in volume 1. We are doing volume 2.
I know. I'm just saying, I'm just referring back to volume 1. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying it's a different story. Is that right?
It must be a different story because that was volume 1 and we are discussing volume 2.
Let's read on. But I think it's yeah.
Yeah, no, Braj Kishore, what it is like Gopkumar first did go to Jagannath Puri, remember?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Yeah. So then here probably saying like, did he go back?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the same story.
Yeah.
See, that's what's intriguing, because now he's going to go back with a different adhikar, a different qualification, because he's heard from the devotees. He's heard about Goloka now. Before he hadn't heard of there when he first visited. Then he wasn't, although he was attracted to Madan Gopal, he wasn't educated in the science of rasa.
Yes, that's
now
true.
he's been educated in the science of rasa. So with that, he can. Let's see if he goes back with that. Purusottama Jagannath Puri qualified. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see how this unfolds. And if you are still not fully satisfied after going there and seeing him, then at least stay there some time as the means to achieve your desired goal. And one of the reasons he was advised not to stay in Puri, if I remember rightly, is because Puri is a place of unlimited festivity, because of all the pastimes that are celebrated there. So it was considered for him, it wasn't a good place for developing feelings of separation from Krishna, because it's such an abundance of festivity there. So he was advised to go to Palma Vrindavan, if I remember rightly, to develop feelings of Vipralambha Bhav, which is also needed for his development to perfection. So the same with us. For us to go forward on the path of perfection, we have to imbibe and understand, as we mentioned a few times, this mood of separation. So that's something that Gopakumar had to learn as well. So just remember, he was more or less ignorant of the science of devotion. When he got the mantra, he was given the mantra and the guru disappeared. So he had to figure things out on his own, so to speak. But now he's been blessed with the association of Vaishnavas, so he's become more qualified. Well, let's just quickly read another couple of verses. Yeah, let's see your desire goal. Okay, 214. Of course, your ultimate goal is pure love for the lotus feet of Krishna, the divine gopi's life and soul. Love that follows the mood of the Lord's own Rajbhumi. You seek no other goal than that. Commentary. Here, Narad defines both Gopakumar's desired goal and the correct means for achieving it. The only effective means for achieving Krishna in Goloka is pure love, and the only proper object of that love are the two lotus feet of Sri Gopinath. Okay, let's just take a liberty and read a couple more verses. Okay. But the prime cause of pure love for Krishna is Krishna's full mercy, which in someone may arise spontaneously and in someone else by a gradual practice of devotional service. So for us, it's more probably going to be the second, probably, we should hope. But this is what we're doing. We have a sadhana and we have a sadhya, so gradual practice of devotional service. That's what's been given to us. Yeah, and that's what we're following. So 216. Just as from a generous donor, one might receive food already cooked, or the means and ingredients for cooking food for oneself. So according to opinions of scriptures, one receives Krishna's mercy through a method of devotional practice, either regulative or spontaneous. Now, this is all what we're reading in Sankalpa Kaumudi, isn't it? At the end, if you remember rightly. And this Brihat Bhagavatamrta is the inspiration behind Sankalpa Kaumudi. And now we're seeing very specifically here. We're speaking about that at the last chapter, isn't it, of Sankalpa Kaumudi. Yeah. One receives Krishna's mercy through a method of devotional practice, either regulative or spontaneous. Okay, that's a whole discussion about commentary. Though all perfection in bhakti comes only by Krishna's mercy, there is still a need for different methods of sadhana. To illustrate the point, we may consider the hungry people who should receive charity. Some should be given food already cooked and offered to the Supreme Lord. Others, like strict brahmanas who eat only what they have cooked themselves and offer to their own deities, should be given rice, other ingredients, and pots and fuel for cooking. Oh, wonderful example, yeah? So that's what we've been given. Yeah, we've been given the ingredients, and we have to put it together. Yeah. Similarly, most aspiring Vaishnavas need to be purified from material contamination by regulative devotional service, by devotional practice. Only very few souls, already pure, can enter directly into spontaneous loving service. So, very important message here from Sanatana Goswami. Okay. All right, we better stop there. We've gone over a whole 5 minutes. I hope that's okay. Hare Krishna. All right, we left it at quite an exciting point. Well, let's pick it up next Thursday and continue this, yeah? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Everyone. Thank you again for joining us for this reading. Give us an opportunity to hear about Krishna and Goloka Vrindavan and the Gopis and Narada Muni and Uddhava and Jagannath Puri and Govakumar and Bhishmadev. Wow, all in 1 hour. It's quite amazing, isn't it? That we've took darshan of all these great Vaishnavas. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Wonderful Vaishnava weekend.
Thank you, Murli Manohara Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Bol.